Thompson Productions.
I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to another Already Dead. Today is a special edition, no pores allowed. That's what we were talking about before the chat started. I just realized, I think it's been weeks. I don't know how fucking long it's been that our Google Voice has been fucked and not. Whenever the last time you guys heard an actual call-in on the show, it's probably the last time it worked. It probably broke after that. I will try to fix it for next week so we can do the manual calls, but as I said, non-pores, so you guys can also be, if you're a patron of me or Austin, we put out StreamYard links every week. So if you guys do want to chat with us in the second half of the show, pop on with us. We'll kick Jules off to make it fit. If you want to shoot the shit with Dana and us, talk about the Process Church, that's your time to do it. You got to pay us some money for it, though. $2 for me, $3 for Austin, because he's a Jew.
Stop reinforcing that.
At least that's the rumor they're spreading.
These motherfucker.
But with that, we have Dana today, as you guys can all see. Dana DooDah. She unfortunately was not able to make it last time we had her booked, but we have her with us now, and we are glad to have her. It's kind of one of those guests. It's like, how the fuck have we not done this yet? But really, it's more just because me and Austin are have so many fucking things going on. We're awful about booking guests for this show. This show always ends up being like an afterthought when it comes to guests. This is more just where we come to spurg on whatever we're thinking about for the week. But we're going to try to fix that. We're going to try to make more heavy guests going forward. We're going to outsource that responsibility to Jules. We'll see if he performs. If not, we'll fire him. But Dana, it's a pleasure to have you. You want to introduce yourself to our audience for those who don't know you?
Well, thank you for having me. Rotting Jules, or Dana DooDah, and I'm the Process Princess. Apparently, that's what I'm told. So,
which on that note, I just now recently, I don't know how, it's like a best kept secret. I just found out about your, I don't know, probably like a few weeks ago actually, your Process Church. It's called? What is the Process? I think your podcast series you're doing, because I know you have your YouTube channel, but you actually did like a legit. It's really, really well done. I was been pleasantly impressed. I've gone to like 4 episodes deep. Really great stuff. I highly recommend it. It's kind of, been a long time coming, I think, because you have been covering it on your show, but I guess just now you've taken the time to really put on the bells and whistles and make it look nice too. So it's a really good piece of I highly recommend it. I really can't fawn it over enough. Really, really dope. But with that, Austin actually recently had like a viral episode where he kind of became known for Process. He got some in the retarded range of like 50K for some fucking reason. But so he's kind of been known by his audience for the Process because of that. Just his audience boomed out of the nowhere for that. Not that, I mean, don't get me wrong, Austin's covered, did a good job in that, but he's covered many other things too. So it's kind of cool to have a meeting of the minds here. We'll definitely be kind of talking a lot about the process. Then we have Jules with us as well, so which kind of works. I know he's a producer, but you hang out and you dabble in the occult, so this kind of fits. So I think this will be a good conversation.
I don't
Austin,
dabble naturally, man.
oh yeah, you don't dabble in the cult. You, I
Right.
don't know. Yeah, well, you
I'm
know what
a
I mean.
scholar of the occult sciences. Jesus.
Oh, and you're fucking fired, is what you
Oh fuck.
Yeah, but anyways, it's a pleasure having you, Dana. I guess probably before we start, I was thinking about this before. Obviously, all of us here, know what the process is. But I think sometimes we make an assumption, and far too often, especially in the line of like kind of content we do here, it's almost too much if you back up and give definitions for everything. But I think at the very least, for the purpose of this episode, we should probably give a definition of what the fuck the process church is.
I think that this is just like I was talking with her privately before we started, and then you guys joined the backstage at least.
Before we
I was
rudely
basically
interrupted you.
Hey man, honestly, it was probably better. It's probably good for Dana because I was kind of going schizo as hell, just extremely excited to have the opportunity just to talk to her for a moment. But yeah, honestly, it's the natural intersection we find ourselves at so very often, and that was like very much, dude. that was very very much something that I discussed this morning, honestly, because once again, just kind of covering the Monarch Project Monarch and the various elements of obviously very sophisticated techniques of hypno programming and mind control and creating altars and things of that nature. It falls perfectly in line with how often the process seems to prop its right ugly head up in these strange networks of sadistic child abuse and child trafficking networks, and not only just drug smuggling. It is the intersection that provides the perfect example of how this network seemingly overlaps, creating this sort of like international clandestine framework that very much seems to go unacknowledged by the vast majority. So I am just like extraordinarily excited to even have this opportunity to talk with you because of how many different, again, how many different times the process has come up within the context of these different, what I've viewed as entirely unaffiliated cases, right? All of a sudden have direct connections where they overlap together and provide perfect examples of how these networks function and are facilitated and also covered up. So yeah. Anyway, I just want to say that what you're doing is honestly, it's the Lord's work. It's the divine path because you're exposing the most sadistic network I believe that exists in modern day and kind of has disrupted all of modern society. And so you honestly probably know the best place to begin to really kind of introduce this organization. But I did know that Marianne de Grimston, right, the founder, that she was did. So is this true? Was she allegedly a high class call girl? That
Unconfirmed.
okay,
Unconfirmed.
'cause I know
So
she was considered to be at least somewhat affiliated with the Perfumo affair, right? That happened in the UK.
that is a rumor. I am leaning more towards, if you look at what was going on peripherally, I do think that she was involved in a honeypot operation with Stephen
Right.
Ward, the osteopath that suicided himself. But I think that she was more into like the BDSM kink scene because that's more her style. And it's weird because her and Yoko kind of show up at the same time. So I think that Yoko was also, honeypotting as well. I don't know if they came from the same network, but one of Timothy Wiley, the main author of a lot of the process literature, he does state in his last book that was released post-mortem that his watcher, his alien guide, whatever, it's so stupid, but the alien guide tells him that Marianne was working for intelligence and they made sure that all the documentation for her went away. Like, I have her birth certificate, but I can't find her family. So,
Wow. Yeah, that's not at all. I don't know. To me, just kind of rediscovering through like reading through The Eye of the Chicken Hawk and things of that nature, and seeing that there's another thread linking the process to like the Atlanta child murders that happened as well, and that was like, but I think,
Austin, let's back up. Let's give a
oh
chance
yeah,
to.
my
I don't
bad,
think
my
we
bad,
ever
my
gave
bad.
it. Let's give Dana. Could you just your best? I don't know. If you were Grok and I said, give me a
God.
2-paragraph or 3-paragraph summation of the Process Church, what would you give? What would you spitball out? I know it's a lot.
Putting that
Especially
AI voodoo on me.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, limited hangout since it's going to be Grok. Scientology spinoff, satanic cult, rumored to be involved with Charles Manson, David Berkowitz, disbanded in 1974. No affiliation, never been charged with any crime officially. And they have an animal sanctuary out in Utah. The official story is the exact opposite. They are Scientologists through and through. They called it the P scope instead of the E meter. They were with Charles Manson. He was a Processian and a Scientologist. There's a lot of weird characters in the Son of Sam case that were Scientologists and hanging out with Processians as well. That's why in the podcast, what I'm really trying to do is kind of go side by side with everything to show people that they are the same thing and they're always moving in lockstep with whatever they're doing. And they're protected by the church. It's the church is ultimately like the hand that feeds that cult. And then underneath that is, we have the process, we have Best Friends Animal Society, and then we have the Satanic Temple. So it's all three of those, almost like a triangle underneath Scientology. But I mean, if you look at it that way, then it makes more sense because Scientology is a status symbol, right? Like people think of celebrities. It used to be. Now people think of Tom Cruise, spurging out on a couch, jumping up and down. But like before, it was a status symbol and it was a sign of wealth. And now it's like, but in the process, you never had to have that. They're the street thugs. They're the muscle. They're like the mafia of Scientology, and
Yeah,
they just got
that's
away
what I
with
heard,
it.
yeah. Yeah, I heard it put in the terms of like they were the strong arm that essentially did. Yeah, they were the strong arm of Scientology. That was basically how it was put into terms that I read earlier as well. That it makes sense. Honestly, it really does. But I don't know. It's just
I was really struck. I was listening to one of your process episodes today, and I was really struck. I believe it's. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm almost certain, judging by the voice. I was hearing Bill Maher. I believe you had a clip of him talking. Maybe it was somebody else. I
Oh,
swear it
yeah.
was. Yeah, and he was talking about it. And it's like the familiarity with which he's talking about him. You're like, it really makes it. I'm not saying he was like some Processian or anything, but the way he speaks of them, that they were like in his circles. They were kind of, you saw him around, just kind of like he's familiar with them. So you do get the impression that from that art clip, at least I did, that I mean, obviously he's kind of been a religious critic too, so maybe he was aware of it in that way. But just judging, but it sounded like there was an air of familiarity. Like I was kind of surprised they gained that level of notoriety and known of to that degree. That like somebody like a Bill Maher was kind of talking them as if they were just like, oh, kind of like familiar thing out there in the ether.
I think it was John Waters.
Oh,
I think
okay, well, I was
that's who
wrong.
you're talking about because he's the one that's like really passive. No, because I was thinking of a clip that I had used in the episode about the Weather Underground and the SDS. But
No, it's 4. It's the New Orleans episode. So
New Orleans episode. Yeah, so that would be
Yes.
John Waters.
Well,
Yeah,
his
he
voice
did.
sounds just like Bamar then.
Well, it might tell you something about what
Yeah.
Bill's doing behind closed doors. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
just my 2 cents.
Yeah. All right. Well, shit. Maybe I stumbled on something I didn't even realize it. They got the same exact little dialectic there. I do got my buddy Tim Tuttle in the chat saying, in my opinion, Process Church are the Aquino weirdos splinting off in different warring factions for Gladio Ops, much like the eternal international banking systems like the Rothschilds versus the Rockefellers. I don't know if that's a little too spooky for you, but
it's very similar in my opinion. But what is your take on the Brother John story, the John Paul Ranieri, or if I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but as far as just according to him, right, the Westchester cult was spawned far back in the early 1950s, courtesy of a Nazi sympathizing doctor who traveled from England to North Yonkers in the post-war years It started as a ritual magic club that specialized in sex with children and drug dealing, and it grew from there. This is according to Brother John. He says the heavy Satanism came later, but they were doing stuff long before Berkowitz obviously came along, and it was well organized, and they had sent obviously, you know, but this is Brother John, and I'm just like considering the fact that I remember that the chapter had traveled to Mexico at one point after they kind of branched out from the UK. I'm not certain of the exact chronological order of the history of the process and how it kind of moved and the tentacles formed internationally on the world stage, but it definitely was. It's interesting to listen to what he claimed, because he says that it was obviously well organized, but had big mob connections in Yonkers and Manhattan. So organized crime syndicates were involved. And he talked about how he explained that John Carr had recruited him and several other adolescents into the group in 1961 when all were high school freshmen in Yonkers. And he emotionally described how he and 3 other youths were raped during an initiation ritual in Untermeyer Park, which was a ceremony at which dogs were sacrificed, which, right, the exsanguinated dogs or whatever, the Alsatian German shepherds and the mass graves that like Detective James Rothstein discovered there from his criminal informants in Untermeyer and a few of those other parks in upstate. And then the last part that he said here that I thought that I'm sure that you've come across this at some point, but it's just that he claimed that after that, apparently the leaders turned him and some of the other kids into teenage prostitutes, and they operated out of a bar near the Carr house. And from there, they sent them to big hotels and parties in Manhattan, where they turned tricks with their rich friends and other clients, and they were all money people. So he then revealed he saw another phase of the enterprise. I personally know that in Manhattan, they had some cops and politicians on their payroll, and a few of those guys were also my clients. There were also tie-ins to the mob through the gay bars, the pornography, and the sex shops. Same thing Rothstein was saying, right?
Yeah.
About those gay bars. Yeah, it's extraordinary stuff, honestly, when you realize the level of affiliation to the prominent individuals that they're surrounding. It's fascinating.
Hey, real quick, I want to cut in here just to give a little update. I just realized as you were talking that your stream, Austin, got nuked. So the little I'm assuming it's probably the same shit that I've gotten like the fucking self-harm nonsense probably, because the name of our show is already dead. They think you're trying to kill yourself and they're trying to help you out. So thanks, YouTube.
Dang.
Luckily, every time I've dealt with it, they immediately are like, "Oops, my bad." And you're like, "But fuck you, dude."
I thought it was for the JFK thing that y'all had at the beginning.
That used to get it. I don't get hit for that anymore. Now I guess they're cool with JFK against brain splattered. Now I don't fucking know, but I can't say already dead for the name of a show. But anyways, we have Rumble. You have your stuff on Rumble, the Underclass podcast, and Rumble. It's I guess a good reminder for Rumble. So. Yeah. It is what it is. It's annoying, but that's the dealio. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to let you people know that's what's going on. So definitely go follow on Rumble or something like that. I do want to let you guys know with that, if you do want to comment like super chat, something like, we have Rumble rants. The only one of us that was monetized on YouTube is now down. So really all you have is Rumble rants if you want to do that. So super chat has now been taken down as well. But anyways, I guess people go ahead, Austin.
I just know that I want you to explain to me. Obviously, I think that at least just the intelligence connection to Manny Grossman. Yeah, dude. What the fuck? Like that guy, like what? He just jumped into my comments after I did the process episode, and he was
up like a weed.
Pot, man.
Yeah, like a garden weed. It's funny that he's a gardener. Yeah, he's I have nothing nice to say about that man. But first, before we address that, so in regards to John Paul Ranieri and the cult, when you put it into the context of, because everybody thinks that I'm crazy because I'm over here like, y'all should be more worried about Scientology, and now everybody wants to pay attention. So in the Manson case, because that was, the first really bad PR for the church, so to speak. in 1970, I think it was December 1970, there's a document that was pulled during the raid, the FBI raid of Operation Snow White, where the church had notified Hubbard and his wife that they had successfully infiltrated the Rampart Division of the LAPD, which was the division handling the Manson case and the Gall and Sharp murders. Now, when you look at that with what was going on in the Santa Cruz and Santa Barbara area with like dogs being skinned, dogs being, slaughtered, sacrificed, the movies that everybody was talking about, that now, you're getting numerous corroborating stories of all these cops holding onto a copy just in case and making copies and selling them for $250,000 to $500,000 depending what's on them. When you put it into that framework, it only makes sense what John Paul Ranieri says later on. That totally tracks. And, the stories about certain individuals from the children cult going into like Vatican City to do, basically like assassin hits, you know what I'm saying? Like running drugs and weapons. That also tracks because when you read through the process's court records and the lawsuit that they lost with Ed, they had the endorsement of the fucking Vatican at that time. The Vatican came and testified on their behalf. The Vatican was with them in Rome while they were starting their weird sex orgies, probably with the dogs, who knows? But I'm like, okay, this makes total sense. Like, yeah, this definitely is not an intelligence operation. And then you have the stuff going on in Haight-Ashbury. You know what I'm saying? You have the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. And now I have confirmed without a doubt, I have all the evidence put together that it was Michael Reconciuto from the Promise Scandal who was the informant watching Abigail Folger, Charles Manson. He had power of attorney over Timothy Leary's house in San Anselmo. And he was driving Ronald Stark of the Brotherhood of Eternal Love's car. That was the car that Charlie was driving when he was seen 2 days later. That's whose car he was driving. And they're making porn out of the clinic. Like, come on.
Wow.
Wait, okay.
Of course it progressed to that.
All right, so I guess back up. I now I kind of want to know your take. Now that you brought up evoked Riconosciuto, I kind of need to know your vague take on him because he's someone who's obviously he's well known in the octopus scandal, Riconosciuto. Right. He's come up in the Oklahoma City bombing one. Like he's the one who brings up I forget which specific exotic bombing technique that he supposedly made some claim to or something. And it is always like you never know like what the hell. If he's legit or not, because it is like obviously he was spooked to the fucking gills, so it's like he would know, but he's spooked to the gills, so he would fucking lie. So it's like you don't know. I mean, obviously he's had legal problems, so you never know. Like, oh, is he on the in? Is he on the out? It's also like we've all read Program to Kill here, except for maybe Jules. I don't fucking know, but it's like so we know the whole like like it's like who knows what they're doing here? Are they really actually seeing any sort of punishment? I don't fucking know. So But I totally lost my train of thought there. I swear I'm not high. What the fuck was I talking about, Jules? You're rubbing off on me.
The legitimacy of Michael.
Michael Riconosciuto, because he did experience legal problems. So it's like you're like, is that for show? Is he really experiencing legal problems? Like, what is the? I mean, what is the angle here? Like, what Fed games are being played? It's like always hard to read him. Like, I don't know. Like, people always bring him up, in reference to Oklahoma City bombing. Like,
the source within the context of the Insular Promise Software scandal, because obviously he was a key part in providing the backdoor on the Cabazon Indian Reservation. That was apparently where that took place. He was a key as far as just
Gunderson sold him a lot too. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. So to this guy, like kind of thoughts. I mean, obviously Gunderson's another one too. You're like, I don't even fucking know how to read him.
For sure.
But yeah. Anyways, it kind of gets back to the root of it. Like, what are your thoughts, Dana? Like, I mean, because obviously you found him in a different node. So just kind of the information that's come across him. How has that colored your impression of him? Are you still is just as much like hands thrown up? You don't know what to trust anything he fucking says, or where are you at with him?
I feel like some of the stuff there's a lot of things that are questionable about him. I agree. I think he's a polarizing character, just like Ted Gunderson. But in the context of the time, because like I do genealogy on all of these people because I think that family history paints a better picture than what they're willing to tell us. So he got busted in Tacoma with his father-in-law, they had an underwater laboratory where they were making LSD and MDA. So
Yeah.
I think that that's
crazy.
exactly what was going on. That was in 1972. He was living in Berkeley at the time. So it makes sense to me. And when you read the conversation and the pages where they start talking about Manson are missing out of Danny Casolaro's file, which is really
Yeah.
upsetting to me. But the people that he's naming at that time, those really weren't common names. Like the people that owned the Straight Theater, the people that were funders of the Straight Theater, where Kenneth Anger held that Equinox, whatever, with Bobby Beausoleil, where they showed Lucifer Rising, you know, and he's talking about Manson being there, Abigail Folger being there. She helped fund it. Him stating that, you know, Abigail Folger was funding Frykowski's drug operation. I think that all of that stuff tracks. The other connection that is really interesting, and I think that it validates Michael's claims, is that Danny Casolaro's younger sister went to Haight Ashbury a couple months after she got married and overdosed in Haight Ashbury. This is in 1970. Why was Danny Casolaro's sister in Haight Ashbury where Michael Reconciliuto was?
Mm-hmm.
What was he doing there? How far back does that relationship go?
That's very interesting. Yeah, I know he inevitably claimed that he was strung up on trumped up charges and essentially framed by the feds for a drug nexus that he claimed he wasn't actually running. Who knows how legitimate that is? But
All right,
still,
one question I gotta know: what is the specific? Have you found anything, any reasoning, any doctrinal reasoning between the dog fucking? Like, what is with that? like what? Like, okay, I understand from like an MK Ultra like trauma based mind control perspective, but even then, it kind of doesn't make sense because, like, from my understanding, like why you do a lot of times when you see like Dutroux affair, you know, you'll see like snakes being used, and like it is like it's more to make it distinct and make it more traumatic or more bizarre, and to more imprint, and to essentially to create your make it harder for your brain to essentially kind of the idea of like a muscle confusion. It's the same idea, and they're trying to dissociate. So the idea is do different weird things. But if you're constantly doing the dog fucking, then after a while your brain's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess you're still dissociating a little bit, but just I would feel like it's not as effective comparatively if you're it's just it's bizarre. What's with the dog fuck? I mean, obviously there is like that. It's just, I guess it's, to me it's weird that it's very specific to one type of dog and dogs. So it's like very weird. Like I don't know, just very specific.
It is very specific. And Best Friends, I think it was
Best Friends is kind of weird to say.
I think, oh yeah, it sure is. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that till now.
Yeah. Welcome to my life. So in 2010, I think it was, they like launched this full campaign, and they spent so much money to save these dogs from being put down, who were trained to force themselves upon women that this couple was, you know, basically like locking and torturing in their basement. They were like, oh no, we want them. We want them to come with us. And I'm like,
perfect.
okay,
I mean, poor things.
That makes total sense. I mean, I think that there's not just the sex rituals with the dog. I think that they're also, you know, using their blood. There are rumors that for quite some time they have been, you know, lacing the blood with acid before they do their weird blood sex orgies. And then I also think specifically in Utah, because a lot of their stuff is run underground, I think that they're doing some type of weird like genetic DNA stuff.
All right. Fair enough. I've heard the DNA stuff before, but it is also like I don't even understand like what. Then I guess you could say there's some specific reason for that dog and the DNA stuff, but it's even like I don't know. Are we making dog men? Is that what's going on here?
Dude, that's what the Anunnaki were doing, dude. Like, yeah, it's fallen angel DNA tinkering or whatever you want to call it.
And the Alsatian, I think Alsatian specifically, but also German Shepherds. They have the closest similarity DNA to human DNA. So
interesting.
I've heard that before, but that's just a weird thing to say about a dog.
I agree.
just feel like a dog's not that close. Like, okay, cool. the one breed of dog that's the closest, but it's like you can think of the many other animals that are probably closer. Like this is bizarre. I don't know. It
They're
doesn't make sense
Nazis.
to me. I mean,
So
and it also, like, as I was mentioning before, it kind of somewhat flies against the logic of like trauma-based mind control, because the idea is to kind of switch it up as opposed to the same old thing every single time. I mean, don't get me wrong, still traumatic, still weird, but anyways, go ahead, Austin.
Well, wasn't there? I know that there was a method, and just knowing the ideological influence of kind of the Nazi occult element that played into a lot of like the process, just the process magazine issues, like the death issue specifically, like the cracked Nazi skull, or the cracked skull with the Nazis like goose stepping out of the skull. Like it's if I remember, that's the way it looked, but either way, there was definitely like an overlapping sort of embracing. Obviously, the swastika itself is basically the process symbol. I mean, it's just a different version of a swastika in a certain way.
The
But
hook,
knowing
the hook
knowing the
cross.
value, knowing the value of the ancient runes, I mean, to a lot of these practices, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I just know that the SS would do this ritualistic sacrifice of, it was sort of a version of mind control. It was a loyalty test where they would provide you with a German an Alsatian German Shepherd. Obviously, it's just a German Shepherd, and as a puppy, and then you would raise the puppy, and then you would be forced to sacrifice the dog, right? And this was like an initiatory rite in some sort of way, but it's also a diabolical strategy and a sophisticated technique of how you kind of split that neural pathway, and you sort of exploit and leverage this what is it, the pain and pleasure responses, and you invert them in this sort of strange way. It's all Project Monarch sort of in many ways. And what he was mentioning with the with the bestiality, like it consistently came up in the Phoenix Project, where you had like, they were utilizing eels to rape people and rape their victims, and then have their victims rape others with snakes and eels as well, and like, so these strange, like, crazy ass animals that they would involve in their techniques. I believe there was gang rape, obviously using eels, snakes, hard objects, followed by murder, electrical shock. So of course, just like Project Monarch, and so anyway, very very much, it's like a sadistic form of torture in many ways.
Real quick,
But,
Bobo is saying Army Special Forces is the same thing with the rabbits. I can tell you right now. I'll go ahead and let you guys. I don't know if I've told this before. I mean, you guys know, as prior Air Force, I was a flunky out of a SEER training, which they do the thing with a rabbit. I can only speak for Air Force, the SEER specialist, which once again I failed out of, which is like, no one from my track made it. It was like they're on the same, they're similar. Well, they hang out with like all the Special Forces guys. It's kind of just as hard. It's technically your instructor, but either way, yeah, they gave us rabbits to kill. So like, but it's not like they made you be buddies with them. Like they're just like, here's a rabbit, fucking kill it. You're like, okay, well, I'm hungry.
That is crazy. Though,
Hey,
but I know that.
My bad. I was going to say, did y'all see this? This happened this last week. I actually saw the video. They had used CRISPR to make these dire wolves, and they're beautiful, man. But it's scary. I don't know if y'all saw that or not.
I mean, they're just a big ass wolf. They're like, get up to like 200 pounds. I mean, that's big, but like, I don't know. I mean, that's like a mastiff.
They make
I mean,
a lot
it's not
of
that crazy.
set them out to the wild.
If anything, I was more mad that they were like,
predator.
they made them, and their whole thing was like, well, we want them to be in their natural habitat, and they keep them on the wild. And you're like, why? What was the point of all this? Just so you can throw them in a fucking wilderness preserve? Like, I don't know. Let somebody have a fucking puppy. Anyways, back to the process. All right. Let's go back to. I know we've talked about how this kind of came out of the Scientology. So I feel like it probably would, I think it's, I mean, we've talked about like the rat lines and stuff like that before. I believe you've covered that a lot. I believe that area of research were kind of he during that time. I know you have as well, Austin. The idea that there were Nazi connections between the original Scientology back when they were on their Navy or whatever the fuck was going on then.
Yeah, there's a Nazi connection to the OTO. I didn't realize. I had no understanding, honestly, that was a reality. But anyway, yeah, I think that Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure how you feel, Dana, but I'm just consistently trying to conceptualize this at a deeper level to where I have more of an operating framework of how this is functioning. And yeah, it does seem as if the vast majority of the founding members of these strange organizations or secret societies, or like, let's say, even the theological doctrines, like the spin-off chapters of even a Michael Aquino's Temple of Set type of scenario, right, where he flees Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. But there's always some sort of military intelligence connection. There's always some sort of framework connecting back to, this, again, a secret fraternal organization of powerful influence, because the OTO members were Freemasons to begin with, who founded the OTO. So that alone, they had these interesting secret societal connections. So I'm not sure. What do you think as far as like the Nazi influence to the Scientology aspect of kind of? I believe L. Ron Hubbard's basically an intelligence agent. I mean, I
He
view.
is.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
church denies it. The church denies it vehemently. They're like, no, that's a cover. But then they're like, he infiltrated the Babylon working because he was on a secret mission from unknown agency, and it's like, okay, that sounds fake and gay. I I basically call Scientology like L. Ron Hubbard's fake space navy blackmail operation, like, because
Hilarious.
that's what it is. And there's been scientific studies that have been done with the e-meter. It is very light, like electroshock therapy. It's very
Mhm.
minimal, but it does cause brain damage and it does cause neurological damage over time. So it is like, I don't know, it is kind of like MK Ultra, especially when you're sitting there and somebody's auditing you, asking you about your wet dreams from 5 past lives ago, screaming at you. Like it really is a way to kind of break somebody down and decondition them and then raise them up
Absolutely.
in the way that you want them. I think that, Hubbard is kind of a spook of a different nature, a bit of a different beast, because he's Navy intelligence, Navy
Mhm.
intelligence.
OG shit.
Yeah, that pulls
Yeah.
rank over the CIA. Like,
Yeah.
I try to tell people, I'm like, man,
Absolutely.
like the church committee was a limited hangout, it
Yep.
was the CIA, like, we got the heart attack gun, pew pew, like, we're
Mhm.
getting in trouble. And it's like, no, you're
Yep.
not. And what about the Navy's, experiments? There were so many weird hypnotists with the Navy, and all the
Mhm.
other departments of defense, as far as like military goes. I think that Hubbard, in the context of getting a big boat, getting religious tax exemption, and living out on international waters, is fucking genius when you think
Hell
about
yeah.
Iran-Contra, because
Mhm.
I totally
Exactly.
think that they are tied into Iran-Contra.
Data. They were tied into the Golden Triangle. I mean, so it was like that was, and so even before that, I think that they've been utilizing this playbook of running drug trafficking, which again, it's like, how many times do we have to really acknowledge the fact that this doesn't end or begin with, let's say, it's just they all blend together, right? When in terms of these strange operations that in regard to MK Ultra, drug running, human trafficking, child pornography, targeted assassinations, human compromise, sexual blackmail. It's just like running prostitution networks. Every single aspect of it is it's a playbook straight out of intelligence and how you compromise individual assets and leverage them to your benefit on the world stage. And then why would you not try to essentially target every aspect of modern civilization, meaning let's infiltrate and compromise the organized religion and the spiritual aspect of society itself, and how and warp their perspective and do as much possible to disrupt their interpretation of reality itself by sending in our infiltrating operatives to essentially, yeah. And so not only would they do it within that structure of manipulation and deception, well, then they would, of course, they would attempt to, especially considering the attempted disclosure and accountability that was at least people blowing whistles and things of that nature. Well, what happened, right? The Penal Colony paper, Jonestown, where they claimed that obviously all these covert clandestine operations like an MK Ultra and these strange operations were driven underground for plausible deniability, right? And so they use these cult cutouts as if they are naturally occurring, and all of a sudden we have this satanic panic. Oh my God! Right, when in reality it's like a really a convenient cover up.
Isn't it weird how all the trends, like especially the dark ones, like serial killers, mass shooters, cults, like you really can just like really bring them all back to the feds. I did want to really hone back in on something you said. I just want to reiterate. Did you say that the e-meter, because I've never used a fucking e-meter because I'm not a fucking dork, but yeah. But did you say it gives low-level brain damage? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So like
they've done studies where it's almost like, not obviously like electroshock therapy where you have to have like the bite, thing, like the bite guard, but over time it has shown damage. And then this guy that was doing an experiment with it, he, I guess, did it on sort of like a medium auditing schedule, whatever the hell that means. And he did it with a raw steak, like 2 raw steaks, and like the steak turned black. I mean, it does recondition you, and then put that into the perspective of like the Manson family and the process out at Spawn Ranch, and it smells different out there, right? And they're all sitting there using that thing. Like, I don't think that he controlled the girls at all, but you have to ask. Jay Sebring was a Scientologist. The LaBiancas were Scientologists. Mama Cass was a Scientologist. Charles Manson was a Scientologist and also a Processian. And there's a very good likelihood that Sadie Atkins, was also a Scientologist because the church was keeping an eye on her. And Linda Kasabian said that L. Ron Hubbard was her dad.
Wow.
So it's like,
crazy. Man,
what are you guys doing?
They're making these bitches retarded.
Yes.
And I think you may have mentioned it there too, but in the episode I was listening to today, you were I didn't know that Scientology has like had this where they've pushed certain pills and vitamins, and then the Processians did the same. And I find that obviously, medication, Austin invoked, Jonestown a minute ago. Like they were statements saying they had enough to like for a fucking city or some shit in Jonestown. And there's plenty of other examples like that. So it's like, drugs are obviously commonly associate any sort of mind control, fed shit, or cult stuff, whatever. So I just kind of want to, do you have any, what the fuck are they, what meds are they giving these people? Because all I know is just kind of vitamins, and they call them vitamins, but it's like, let's be real, they're meds. Like, but like
vitamins. They're anti-psychology.
Okay, like so they won't even. It's just kind of proprietary blend type bullshit, essentially.
It's from what I understand. And I could be wrong. I know it has something to do with some type of weird oil enema and a bunch of niacin. And then you just like sweat it out in like a little spa room that they have there, and you're overloaded with niacin, and so the sweat is orange. So like people think that something is happening to them, and that you're getting clearer. You're gonna go clear and cross the bridge to total freedom.
So they're just sitting getting a niacin flush and fucking going, oh my god, man! I
literally.
I mean, for those who ever got a niacin flush, just so your face gets red, you're like, oh shit. I mean, sometimes it's itchy. A lot of times in pre-workouts, sometimes this is stuff that does it. Yeah. Usually it's beta alanine that does that, but sometimes it's like, sometimes it's that as well. It's not a good feeling. It's not the greatest, but it's not that big of a deal. Like,
I did it once to try and pass a drug test.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all, though. I've done that before,
not
too.
At all.
But yeah.
That's how I know.
I knew it, dude. I knew it. That's hilarious.
I'm a degenerate. But all right, guys, I think now would be a good time to kind of take a minute, and we're gonna start doing this is an intermission. We're gonna take a little minute, do an intermission. We're gonna play our weekly dump, which is a supercut of me and Austin's morning show we do at 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Streams to both of our channels. That's the morning dump. And so, we're going to play a supercut of that. We're going to take a minute. You guys go get a drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do. We'll be back here in a few and go. Make sure to give a thank you to Tim Tuttle. He's the one who does these. I mean, I give him money for it. So, but but he still does it. So that's cool. So,
Probably.
Yeah. So that's cool. But all right, let's, all right, guys, go. Don't get out of here. Stick around. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're playing this, and we'll be back. So.
Top Lobster Productions.
Said I could do it.
To a private roundtable meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It was under what's called Chatham House rules. For those that are not familiar, this means that you cannot reveal.
It's not really many of you are giving me shit, but then you kind of would be like, I don't know, guys, they're like, Jose, no, I don't think you get it. He's a Ziocock, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but which is odd. I mean, obviously, I think the implication here is there might have been more than one shooter too. So. Because the idea of the different ones. So they were live. Shotgun.
He said, "Suck my nuts."
What they're trying to do here.
You can hey, they put aside their differences. They thought to the future and put their powers together to advance our modern society and increase our scientific abilities. There you go.
Usefulness, and also potentially made political enemies with individuals who might be within the same framework of human compromise.
They together. Will Smith, that's who Jada Pinkett Smith is most known for, being his wife.
Wife's name.
Dude was totally gay. Like, let's be real. Will Smith is gay. Like, I mean,
men in the woods and piles of dead kids with no blood, baby. They go.
Different idea and concept. Yeah.
But either way, in a roundabout way, Douglas Murray works for related to Rothschild or for the Rothschild. Yeah. So it's like, it is. And then even
no doubt. If you're insisting that I can't believe Rogan was putting up with it. I couldn't handle that shit, man.
Well, I mean, there's Rogan. He's trying to. Exactly. For kidnapping children. Yeah. And like, obviously, when you put all these different things together, it looks
babysitting services, right? Daycares. And then all of a sudden you wonder why is the McMartin underground tunnels all of a sudden in the middle of the Finders documents?
Yeah. I wonder what the connection is.
Terminology.
But we also know it creates vulnerabilities. And so we're using that same AI technology to help defend against those vulnerabilities, to anticipate the negative.
That's a national ID card. Are you for that?
Absolutely not. I voted against the Real ID. I think the Real ID is the national ID card. It's essentially going to be introducing the notion that we will be carrying our papers.
A teenager in Wisconsin who allegedly killed his parents is now accused of planning to assassinate President Donald Trump. 17-year-old Nikita Kasip is already facing charges.
All right. Well, that was a complete and total waste of our time. I apologize. Not looking good for the dystopian future. I mean, I feel like Skynet was a thing.
I was just going to say, if there's another Holocaust and people start rounding up the Jews. I just say, if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first.
Oh, what the fuck? All right, here we go. There we go. We're back. All right, I kind of like that. It gives us a chance to go to the bathroom and all that stuff. I didn't even have to go, but I like the idea. Me and Austin have small bladders, so it's nice. It's nice to have little breaks like this. I know I've spent hundreds of episodes learning to hold myself, but I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to hold it. I just want to be able to go when I got to go. So, I mean, I think we should have 45-minute intermissions in every podcast there is. So, but yeah, here's a nice picture of the process. Okay.
Out if y'all don't mind.
No problem. Yeah, you guys can see there how that's basically exactly like a swastika. So to get back to the Nazi shit there, it always comes back to Nazi shit. But But Austin, any questions you have? I know this is definitely this is your area of expertise far more than is mine. So what do you got, bud? Also, I do want to, real quick, I do want to let you guys know we're in the call-in portion of the show. So for any of the patrons, I know I see like 2 or 3 of you guys sitting in the back right now. If any of you guys do want to come on a video chat, let me know in the private chat. We'll bring you on. Also, or I'm probably going to try to make, since I've fucked up and don't have the call, I'll try to make a point of addressing the chat more. So especially if you put it in the form of a question, you're far more likely for me to bring it up. If you're just talking shit, I'm not going to. But yeah, this is a call-in portion show, so another 45 minutes. We'll talk to you guys. But yeah, Austin, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, it just like really, I think that again, you have this perfect example of the overlapping structure here of kind of intelligence, as I continue to point to, just the sinister playbook that too much of my pattern recognition and just my schizo skill set essentially is just I don't know, just blowing the whistle and pointing to the fact that Donna Loria, right, and Jody Valenti, as far as just the Son of Sam victims, I found it amazing that there was reportedly this link to the Nugan Bank, and so there was like potentially they were being targeted due to the fact that they were essentially blowing the whistle on the drug smuggling, very well-established drug smuggling nexus that was coming through the military bases at the time, and exploiting the Golden Triangle, and so it seems as if this Nugan Bank, which obviously was importing Golden Triangle heroin into the U.S. through apparent blood supplies, which is of why would you not, right? And then this woman was an ambulance technician. And so she had become aware of this drug ring involving Nugan, and obviously that ties directly into what Dr. Jeffrey McDonald had discovered at Fort Bragg whenever the cadaver connection was disclosed, as far as just he was a doctor that was dealing with heroin overdoses, which were skyrocketing around the base at the time of all of this that was being conducted. But the local chapter of the Process Church was allegedly affiliated with, with helping facilitate that very drug nexus, and as well as working as criminal informants for the local narcotics aid detectives for the Fayetteville North Carolina Police Department, and the MPs as well. So you right, it's just like, to me, it makes a lot of sense that these played out, as far as many of these killings seem to have just take a step back, and it seems to be a targeted assassination, right? Like as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what are your thoughts on how the group, the 22 disciples from hell, or what were they called, the children that David was a part of, Berkowitz there?
So there's the children cult, and then the 22 disciples of hell, which was kind of, the list of names from Maury. And careful, because we're going to summon the garden out of the fucking shitweeds. I think that, in regards to understanding and it being more grounded in reality, why these people are so protected. So one of the founders, she passed away. She was Timothy Wiley's old lady, and her brother-in-law is alive now at Best Friends, married to the CEO. They're Astors. That's the Astor family. The other co-founders were the Fripp family, which this guy, his grandfather, was the doctor to King John. I don't even remember which king it was. There's a lot, and Robert de Grimston's family, because the whole de Grimston thing, I did a genealogy on that. Mary Ann didn't come in and randomly pick that name. He's from a nobility lineage in the UK. That's where that comes from. It's when you understand that there's so many of these people and they're all elitist little shits from old money or, military medicine or military intelligence, it makes sense. And I think that a lot of them were probably targeted. I don't think all of them were targeted for something scandalous like blowing the whistle. I think some of it was like Shorty Shay Manson, he knew too much, right? Like there's probably a lot of that, and also a lot of I don't know how you would say it, like people that just end up getting killed kind of in the line of fire, right? They're just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're just an excess casualty. And there's, the Gall and Sharp murders. Those were very clearly an occult murder. I mean, her right eye was gouged out. She had freaking hair in her one palm, and they were stabbed so many times that the cops thought that they were shot at point blank range. Like, and one of the kids was 15, but because they were public Scientologists, the church had to address that, and unlike the process where it's like, we don't know who these people are and why they're saying they're from the Process Church of Scientology, according to immigration services and the FBI, which is completely ridiculous. And then, some of the bigger political assassinations, I think that the main one that has some smoke to it is RFK. RFK and Sirhan, just because of what the FBI and INS told Ed about, Sharon Tate overhearing something about Sirhan that she was not supposed to hear, and the process ordered the hit. And, Manson did write to Ed Sanders talking about Robert and Marianne and being at Polanski's house, and that they know. It's like the more that you hear what Manson says and compare it to all of Ed's informants reports, the police reports, all of these other corroborating stories, it's like, yeah, Charlie's was batshit crazy, but the stuff that he was talking about as far as the porn, the trafficking, the weapons trafficking, the drugs trafficking, all of that, they were doing all of that stuff. And what was going on in New York was just sort of a marriage of that. And then, also little like spin-off groups, sort of. But it's all the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that, that makes perfect sense to me, honestly. It's fun, especially, the Sirhan connection is just like extraordinary to me.
Weren't you telling me just the other day there was something? I forget who you were saying you found some photo, and I feel like maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but I swear it ties into what we're talking about here. I just can't remember. You said Sirhan and somebody else, because we've been down this road a little bit before. His Rosicrucian ties and like some other weirdness about him. Obviously we've talked about the Sharon Tate thing too as well, the connection. But I swear I wish I could remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm barking up the wrong tree. Does that tie into anything we're talking about here? I swear there was a picture of somebody that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I saw a photo of them together. Who was it, Austin?
Yeah. Hold on.
Even if it's not, it's still interesting. It's worth sharing real quick.
Yeah. It was this guy reached out to me because I was discussing the process with Monica Perez the other day, and he reached out because he apparently is involved with skateboarding at a real professional level, I think, and so he's well affiliated with with the history of this. That I found it interesting because there's this photograph, right, where apparently it's from it's in Central Park from 1965, and it's by life photographer Bill Epridge, and apparently you kind of pry into this a little further, and you realize that there are two mystery men allegedly posing as skaters in this Central Park Life magazine owned by Henry Luce at the time, I believe. I think it was Time or Life. I'm pretty sure it was Life, but still, Henry Luce was the owner of the magazine that this photograph was, or these two photographs specifically, were being printed in, and it looks as if this is very, very crazy. But the original busboy that was pictured over RFK's body as he's originally shot, he's posing in this picture, and they're all like, it was almost as if they were orchestrated and put into position and like, hey, look like you're having fun, guys. And again, Henry Luce owning the magazine itself, he's Pilgrim Society and the Anglo-American establishment, very much an aristocratic fraternal organization. He was Alan Dulles' best friend allegedly, and which is very interesting because he was apparently Alan Dulles tapped him to really run Operation Mockingbird on his behalf in the private sector in many ways, and so it was kind of interesting at that level that this was connected. But look at this, because it is crazy, and at the very least we can check out the picture, because I haven't done enough of a deep dive myself personally to actually be able to explain a little bit more at a deeper level what exactly this might mean, the implication of this, other than the fact that they could have been utilized as assets to begin with at an earlier stage than right, because considering this is in 65, 68, right, is when the assassination takes place. And so again, we have two individuals. This is the busboy that was 17 years old over the body of RFK, and this right here is the other mystery man, who very much looks exactly like Sirhan.
Yes, he
And
does.
right, absolutely, right.
I don't know.
So,
I don't actually don't see
brother,
it that much. I mean, I see it. It's close, but it doesn't look.
That's
I mean,
Sirhan,
if it
bro.
was him, I wouldn't be surprised. But it also looks a little bit different to me. Something's off about it. Like, yeah, go back to the last one. See, something about it's a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe it's just a posing thing. Maybe he's just in a different pose. I haven't seen him much. So
That's
it's like, but
Sirhan,
I don't know.
bro.
Maybe it is.
Like
It's
fucking Sirhan.
That definitely looks like him.
now I'm
100%.
talking myself into it. Huh.
That is the fucking busboy at the very least. I mean, no doubt. You know what I mean? Pull up the picture of the busboy that's not as grainy.
What was the what was it? Do you know what the nationality of the busboy was? Because they all kind of look, not to be like racist here, but they all kind of brown.
Yeah, they all are brown. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm just kind of like, obviously he was a Palestinian, and that's a key point. Obviously, that the death of RFK was like shortly after some like Israeli deal. So obviously, it looks like it was slightly, the implication it was being pinned on some sort of Israel-Palestine nonsense. So. So that's what I'm kind of asking. Like, what is this guy a Palestinian too, or something?
Bombers to Israel when it was, and Sirhan's a Palestinian. But yeah, hey, by the way, someone did mention the fact that it's Rosicrucians was the specific organization they all link back to. Makes sense. Carrie Thornley's pictured with that black rose. Remember, we pulled that up the other day, Jules, when we were talking about. I think that was with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got a black rose in his mouth, and he's like Carrie Thornley's very clearly a nod symbolically to the Rosicrucians at the very least. And we know that Sirhan had that connection as well, which and then knowing the chef hanging out at the Ambassador Hotel the night before when the moonlighting security guard Thane Eugene Cesar would pull the trigger at point blank range behind RFK in the pantry. Sirhan's hanging out with this guy, and then he's I think it was Ed Sanders that mentioned the fact, or somebody mentioned that I read somewhere. I'll have to pull that source at some point, but I feel like it was. But anyway, was the fact that Sirhan was at a party at Sharon Tate's residence.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So they were all partying together. I think that it's kind of up in the air as far as if it was at John Phillips' house or if it was at the Polanski residence. Because at one point, Wojciech Frykowski and Abigail Folger did move into John Phillips' home temporarily. So I think it's kind of in between. Because who was it? Dennis Hopper and Michelle Phillips, after they were married, Michelle Phillips in an interview said that it was actually at the Phillips house where the thing with Billy Doyle being publicly, assaulted sexually for drug deal gone wrong with JC bringing Wojciech Frykowski, that it didn't happen at the Tate house, it happened at the Phillips house. But John Phillips was funding the process. INS and the FBI confirmed that he was funding them for like 3 years, I think. So, I mean, he probably was there, as they were all kind of hanging out in the same clubs. It is technically, in the grand scheme of things, kind of a small scene, right? It's all these same people partying together, and it's, why, I just don't think that the FBI or immigration services would send Ed on that rabbit trail, because I think it was in the 90s, the FBI told Ed that there are process files that they have, and they are in the JFK library and the RFK section and inaccessible, whatever that
Of
means.
course. Well, wait. Aren't we in the midst of the most transparent administration in all of American history, Dana? That's so
Disclosure.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, by the way, I just wanted to let the homies know. Yeah, I'm gonna republish this, so the full version's still on my YouTube. Honestly, after this, so fuck it. But yeah, unfortunately, my stream's down. But there's another point there that you had mentioned before. Just the occult nature of how these targeted killings, they very much landed on around certain occult holidays, especially within the Son of Sam. But they use these very specific techniques that we're alluding to, just symbolic references in many ways, in more ways than one, to their occult philosophy that they were practicing. And seemingly it was ritualistic. I'm not sure, but at the very least, knowing the Cotton Club killings, right, and just the Roy Radin and Arliss Perry murders, they all perfectly resemble exactly the same techniques as far as, well, not, you know what I mean, right? With the
Yeah.
occult symbology with the murder themselves. Somewhere I was going with that to actually ask you a question.
Well, I know Jules wanted to ask something, and I guess it's sort of similar and sick fucking shit type stuff. Jules?
Bring this up to you, Dan. Savile, can you explain a little bit his,
Him being in the sex issue?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So that guy actually who conducted the interview, Jonathan DePire, he goes by Gabriel now. He was married to Marianne before she was mauled to death by dogs on the property. He's there today. So Mr. Savile, don't really know. It's very interesting. When this came out, this is when the process started their orgies specifically. So you have to wonder just what's up with that. And
what kind of fucking orgies are those?
Correct. Yeah. Very valid question, right? And it's something that I've had to, sit there and kind of have these fake and gay arguments with people on the internet, these process folks. They always leave out the very extensive history of the process's involvement in prison ministry, hospital ministry, etc., and children's hospitals. So I think that there's something else going on here that's a lot darker. Now, Whitley Strieber, of course, even though I don't really trust Strebe, just like I would never trust Peter Levenda, but Whitley Strieber discusses there's some crossover in roughly 1967, 1968 in this scene going in between London and Rome. He mentions Jimmy Savile. He mentions the process. So I still haven't totally fleshed that out, but I mean, they're connected to everybody from the get-go. I mean, Jane Asher, of Beatles fame, Paul McCartney's ex-girlfriend, she was a first cousin of one of the founders that just died last year. I mean, that this is where they come from. These people all come from the process. It's not me trying to make the process the boogeyman. It's just there are connections, and there's so many intelligence ties that it's how much can you flesh out? Like Marianne might be like, a pipe dream, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not, dead set on Marianne. We have enough other people that we can confirm are old money, intelligence, etc., that it lays out a really strong argument as far as the power behind them. And as far as something I did want to bring up, because I forgot about it. So you were talking about them going to Mexico and the Bahamas. So their story is, so the true story is that they didn't have a vision to go and find the gods. The British Medical Association was threatening to shut them down because they were making people sign waivers that if your mental health was affected, you couldn't come after them. So that's
Wait, that
why
wasn't
they ran
legally
away.
binding?
If you kill anybody, it's not on us. You don't know us. So they go there. Now that's their story, that they're beating themselves in huts and finding Satan, or Satan's finding them. Or the Church of Scientology's records state that they were doing paramilitary training down there. I think it's a mix of
Or
both. But why would
Hand of
why
Death
would the church say that, right? Yeah, exactly. Bingo. Yeah, exactly.
Metamoros. That's
Yeah.
what it is, right? That's amazing. That man, I'm telling you, the level of resurfacing that this organization, as you're continuing to reinforce, it just consistently reveals itself as being an influential factor, at the very least, behind, again, what were they claiming they were being trained in, as far as the Hand of Death, that the black sites, right? Technically, it was in how to, basically, it was, they were training them in abductions and kidnappings and targeted assassinations, and the best way that it, and basically they had an initiatory practice, right, where you had to actually spill blood, and you had to then cut out the heart and put the body on a funeral pyre, and then ritualistically each member had to take a bite of the heart, and that, I mean, that's what they were claiming was being conducted there. So it does make sense that you can track them through those regions, and of course there's some sadistic consequential outcome to their footprint there, and that, of course, like, reminds me that it was Ed Sanders who was claiming it was at Cass's home that Charlie first met Abigail Folger, who as you had said earlier, financed Kenneth Anger's films, which is just like, her connection there is crazy, because just understanding what Maury Terry has to say about, basically, Mama Cass was essentially, like, again, it's very strange, but claiming that really they actively sought, the Church of Final Judgment process actually sought to recruit Mama Cass and John Phillips and Terry Melcher, and that is basically the claim, which I mean, it kind of checks out at a certain level, especially considering the Laurel Canyon scene at the time, and then, right, witnessing what was Dennis Wilson, right, and the strange deaths that were all occurring surrounding Mama Cass before her demise, right, which seemingly it was like her CIA handler of some kind. That what do you think about her death? Are you very much exposed to some of those details? Because it seems strange to me.
Yeah, so her most suspicious boyfriend was Pick Dawson. I just
Yeah.
did an episode on him, and his family, his dad, basically it was a foreign service officer for the State Department, CIA. At that time, he was involved in Bisonia, inviting American bankers over to post-war Germany, and hey guys, let's
It
just
is
rake
so.
in all this money. How philanthropic of them. Um, he is a major spook, and according to Michelle Phillips, as well as some of the other people that were in that scene, the arrest of Mama Cass in 1967 in London was really so that they could get information on Pick Dawson. Obviously, Pick Dawson is protected. It's very clear now looking at his family, and I think that in regards to specifically her, I don't know about a CIA handler so much. Here's the thing. She was a Scientologist, period. They
Mhm.
were kind of like gang stalking her near the end of her life. There's stories where she tells, like, they're showing up in a hotel, like, with the books and the cans, like, we need to audit Mama Cass, and her people are like, no, you're gonna freak her the fuck out. She can't breathe. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
A comparison of that is Michael Carr from The Son of Sam. According to two people who happen to be dead, which is interesting in their whistleblower community, because they were the conspiracy theorists of their community and the only ones that talk about these connections. Michael Carr according to what they say, was given an order by the church called an EOC order, called End of Cycle. This is a policy that was written by Hubbard to kill yourself. So him driving into that into that pole was a axe yourself order. And it is worth noting in regards to Michael Carr, the org that he was in, the Scientology org in New York, that was the exact same location where they ran a black operation on this woman who ended up going to jail because they were able to create a fake bomb threat to Henry Kissinger, complete with her fingerprints and everything.
That's amazing.
So, in light of that, my opinion, and I'll end here with this, is that the Son of Sam letters, all of that, I think that it was a black PR campaign from the Church of Scientology against the Carr family, because there's good evidence that Dad was a Scientologist, that Wheat was a Scientologist, and that the mom was a Scientologist too.
And that makes so much sense to me. It especially, I mean, no way in my mind did I consider that David Berkowitz was responsible for writing those letters in the first place, which was just like, so easy to dismiss it almost at face value at a certain point, but as far as
we got a caller in here, bud. We got you got any question for Dana or any of us here? I see obviously we hang out with. Just want to remind you guys, for those who don't even want to do the call in, you also do get to hang out in the back and you get your own little private chat. And then on top of that, we usually hang out with the guys that do that after the show a little bit too. So just throwing that out there. It seems to be growing. There's usually 2 to 4 of you guys behind there at any given time. But go ahead, bud.
Hey guys, it's your mom, Dana. Welcome. So glad you're here. Please come back. One of their previous shows, we kind of touched on Jamie Dimon and how he connects to some nefarious stuff. The first thing I just want to talk about is Meyer Shine, the owner of the racetrack that Sirhan Sirhan worked at. And apparently he's actually the father-in-law of Lester Crown. So if you know the Crown family, they own General Dynamics and they're like huge Zionists. Hilarious. So that's like a super interesting connection. But I'm basically just parroting what Whitney Webb has gone over. Like, I encourage anybody interested to please go read her work on Unlimited Hangout, because it's super important to realize like how high up and how disgustingly corrupt the entire network is, and there's nobody that's innocent, especially the higher up you go with JP Morgan. So one of the most interesting scandals, just to start, is this company called CDC, founded in 1957 by a bunch of spooks that were working on like cryptography and other nefarious things. They got out of the defense industry and started their own company, and then they started selling nuclear secrets to Russia. CDC sent like some supercomputer to a school in Poland for $3 million and said it was just a computer for a school when only the NSA was using this type of computer. Very interesting scandal. Hilarious. So that connects into basically this group that were facilitating technology transfers to Russia, which was Samuel Pisar and your boy Jordan Maxwell, or not Jordan Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, sorry, wrong Jordan.
Wow.
So like there was all these basically like international groups that were trying to move NATO technology into Russia to make them more of a threat to justify the defense spending. So like CDC was wrapped up in that. You're like, how the fuck does this tie into JP Morgan, right? So that company, CDC, created a company called CCC, which was basically like a marketing company that would shill or sell all of this crazy technology all around the world. And a man named Sandy Weil, if you're in finance or you're interested in business, that's kind of a big name. He was a big mergers and acquisition guy from like the 70s to the late 90s, early 2000s. He's the one responsible for creating Citigroup, who John Deutsch was on the board of while he was director of the CIA, getting grilled by everybody that knew crack was being brought into the fucking LA by the CIA, right? So that's an aside. But the guys that created Citigroup are Sandy Weil and JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon was Sandy Weil's mentor. He like found him, cherry picked him, groomed him, however you want to say it, from like a small family-owned investment bank in like the 70s, and they took over American Express together, and then American Express fired Sandy Weil because he's a fucking psychopath. And Sandy Weil was like, "Hey, Jamie Dimon, you're good, man. You should go figure this shit out on your own." And he was like, "No, man, you're great. I'm totally down with the fucking psychopaths." So they looked for a company to pick up, and guess who they picked up? CCC, which was the shilling or marketing arm of CDC, the company that was transporting all this fucking nuclear technology all over the world outside of America. So from there, you go to them trying to create Citibank. Citibank gets created. Jamie Dimon's like, "So I'm going to be the CEO, right?" And Wild's like, "No, fuck you, bro. I'm still trying to run the show." So Jamie Dimon's all butthurt. He quits. And Amazon tries to recruit him. And Jamie's like, "No, Amazon sucks. I'm waiting for something bigger." He gets picked up by this company called Bank One. So Bank One is a very interesting company. And there's not enough time to talk about it enough. But basically, it's owned by this family-owned company known as the McCoys. And the McCoys have been running this company since like 1870, and they are super spooked up. They ran numbers and drugs for Iran-Contra, like the savings and loan scandals. Like, they're super gnarly. And who's on the board of Bank One but Les Wexner from the Limited Group and his right-hand man, fucking John Kessler. So Kessler and Wexner went to college together, and McCoy, who is the family owner of Bank One, fucking was the mentor of Wexner. So you're like, how the fuck does this connect to Jamie Dimon? Well, Les Wexner, John Kessler, and the Crown family are the reason why he got fucking put as the CEO of Bank One. And guess who acquired Bank One but JP Morgan? So I know that's a lot, and that's like drinking from a fire hose, but that article is like fucking 15 pages. So that's the condensed version. And if you picked up 5 facts and you think it's interesting, go read that fucking article and tell your friends, because all the bankers are criminals, and it's all there in fucking black and white.
Now, I have a question before you go. Very important question, if you know off the top of your head. That company, CDC, you said specifically that they went into Poland.
Yeah.
Do you know what era that was?
Yeah, the 60-something or other. Hold on, I'll find out right now.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. I'm working right now. My next episode is all of Roman Polanski's intelligence ties, because Roman Polanski was working for the Polish state-funded media, specifically with what is it? Womolka, whatever the hell his name is. I can't speak Polish. But all of these people, it's basically what do they call it? Ideological subversion campaign.
Okay.
That's why they came over here. The state was paying them to come over here and do this. So I'm very curious about that. And also, side note, because I have problems with Whitney Webb, Robert Maxwell was a Scientologist. BT dubs.
Fuck yeah, Dana, get her.
Just saying.
No,
well,
for sure.
Well, you got anything else, bud? I appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, just that, Dana, we love you. Please come back, and I'll put that date in the chat. And yeah,
hell
fuck
yeah. Thank
go
you.
get him. Go get him.
Yeah, I see you, bud. All right, we got Namrock in the chat, friend of the show. He said, since John Waters got mentioned at the beginning, were there connections between the process and the SLA, Siboney's Liberation? I forget what the A stands for. Waters was good friends. There you go. Of course it is. With Patty Hearst, and implied he knew secrets about her kidnapping. Do you know what do you know about that? Anything?
I haven't gotten in there in the timeline yet, but I do think that there is some smoke there, just because they're kind of all in the same area, and the SLA is just like totally fake CIA cult. You know what I'm saying? And
the connection of Manson at Vauqueville through Donald Sink you to freeze. Yeah, that's perfect to me. That lines up accurate as hell. I mean, there's no way in my mind that they weren't a part of the same exact. As far as they were running the mind control techniques through Vauqueville, utilizing prison guards in the California prison system, and then they were like staging fake breakouts, which is what was happening. And then all of a sudden they would, how did they end up on the other side? All of a sudden they're in Texas committing like a mass shooting and shit. And it's like it's fascinating stuff, but it seems like par for the course.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Weather Underground breaking out Timothy Leary and then him going to frickin' Algeria with the head of the Panthers. Like, okay, all right, whatever you guys say.
Well, I do have one question that I really wanted. I was thinking about. I wanted to ask before we let you go. It's kind of a no-brainer that I'm like thinking of, like, how the hell haven't we asked it? Kind of, I guess, the question of philosophy. I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting you to give us a crazy long answer, and I don't even know to what extent. Obviously, this might be similar to kind of the question with the vitamins earlier, where it's just kind of like, oh, this is our proprietary blend. We don't tell other people. I just kind of what are the the rough notes, the overview of their belief, because I know they're known for having God and Satan, which obviously that evokes so above as above so below, duality type shit. Obviously that's super occult type crap. So I mean that is probably that's the only thing I know. Then you have the vague like meters that then become like, I don't know, piss missiles or something, or whatever the fuck they call them later. I don't know what. But so essentially, it's just some sort of, I know philosophy, some sort of vague mixture of meter auditing stuff, mind fuckery, and we also believe in God or Jesus and Satan both being like kind of good sort of deities, or maybe a duality. I don't know.
I think it
So
was like
it's
3 different deities, wasn't it?
so it's 4. So you're
Okay.
close. So it was Lucifer, Lucifer, Jehovah, Satan, and Christ. And they kind of whittled their way down. And the only reason that they did that is because throughout that period of whittling down, they infiltrate. I mean, I have them at freaking Billy Graham crusades doing stuff. Like, they were in every single group. Their core beliefs, though, at the end of the day, they do hold those Scientology practices of, what some people call like remote viewing. That's exteriorization in Scientology. And past lives, things of that sort. And also, humanity is the devil and animals are pure.
All right. Checks out. Someone says, 2 shovels. Do you think Christine Butcher murder is related to the process predecessors / creators?
No clue.
All right. There you go. All right. Well, you guys got any other questions for? I mean, otherwise, I think we're probably, man. We fucking covered a lot today, didn't we, man? I feel like there was a lot of fucking bombs. Tim, good luck trying to make a fucking short for this later. Someone said in the chat earlier, or if we knew that he also does Already Dead. Yeah, when I said he paid, like he does.
That was me.
That was you. Okay, I thought it was somebody in the chat. I was like, hey, he does video content for all this stuff. So yeah. Yep. So there'll be an edit for that here soon. But I guess with that, I mean, I think we've covered a ton. I do have that, just so don't leave before we send this to you. But it's your mom in the chat sent a link for that. So in case you want it, Dana, because I figured it'd be useful for your research. But let them know where they can find you at before we get out of here. Appreciate you coming on. We'll have to have you on again sometime for sure. But let them know people where they can find you at. Highly recommend your work. It's great stuff.
Thank you. Rotting Jules on Instagram and YouTube, Dana DooDah on Twitter or X, whatever. And What is the Process on podcast platforms.
Awesome. Jules.
Greypilled Pod on X, guys. Greypilled _ podcast on Instagram. I'm on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Patreon. Patreon.com/Greypilled Podcast. Going to be doing another esoteric book review this weekend. So get in where you fit in. Got a few tiers. It's pretty affordable. Yeah.
Awesome.
Buddy. Dana, thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, like, I admire your work. I think what you're doing is extraordinarily valuable, as I said earlier. And yeah, anyone who's kind of tracking this such a well-organized and well-established, influential, prominent network that has been a part of, as you just reinforced with all of these amazing, extraordinary examples all throughout modern history, essentially disrupting, basically it's James D. Eugenio, which is my favorite way to put this. It falls within the framework of a destiny betrayed in many ways, but I think it was a pivotal role that it played in ushering in the New Age, the Aeon of Horus, whatever the belief is. this new age, esoteric ideological system of control, filling in the God hole with the spiritually inept. The process is the best example. You know what I mean? And so everyone follow and support Dana, and thank you again for coming on. And nothing but love to everybody here. You guys know that. And if you have the means to support me, patreon.com/the_underclass_podcast. And we will definitely have to have another conversation at some point, because I have so many more things to talk with you about, the Fort Bragg murders, Henry Lee Lucas. I mean, even the Atlanta child murders, as I mentioned earlier. So many different tie-ins, which ties in North Fox Island, and then Johnny Gosh, and Jeffrey Dahmer as well, which, by the way, you mentioned the Pope. The Pope shows up meeting with Jeffrey Dahmer specifically, personally. It's the funniest thing of all time. But anyway, so nothing but love, and I respect the hell out of you, Dana. So we'll have to have another conversation at some point in the near future. And beyond that, I love you guys. Jules, Jose, you know that.
Hell yeah. For those who want to support this channel, the No Way Jose podcast, and if you don't want to chip in a buck, I get it. Money's tight, but leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. It goes a long ways. Also, if you want to get something out of your money, get some sort of product, you also can get NWJ Shave Co. Get those single blade safety razors, better than the multi-blade cartridges in every which way. Use Jose at checkout at NWJShaveCo.com. But if you do want to just directly support the show, the best way to do that is cash. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you early access to episodes. I usually keep about 4 behind the paywall. I'll do 1 to 2 episodes per week. Also, that's where you get the ad-free RSS feed, and also you can get the video chat function that you saw today in the second half of the show. And also, I give a big shout-out to my sponsors every episode. Those are my big rollers, my big payers over on Patreon. I have my co-host on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad, also at AbragateDees, at ZOVRECK, at _Vinzeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Been a big fan of the show. Torn May, then at INWARD Lover. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to follow me too at Tower Gang Jose. Especially tag me and stuff if there's stuff you want me to cover on the morning show. That's when I do it. But yeah, what's up, dudes? Oh yeah, toplobster.com. Get some merch. That we're gonna hell yeah. I have a big bunch of that coming here soon. I'm about to bring some to Jake Shields when we go up to Vegas. Oh, Austin, freaking Top sent me like $500 worth of fucking merch to bring with us. So it's gonna be a good time. And I saw some of the chat ask me earlier if I'm getting ready to go to yes. In 2 days, in a couple days, actually Friday. I'm wrong. It's 3 days. And in 3 days, I'm leaving to head over to LA. We may or may not be doing a in-studio podcast with a certain somebody, someone we've been on with before.
He just texted me the link. I basically have to go and join the link.
Okay, cool. Well, shit. Since it's so early, if you guys do want another guest, let me know. I'll jump in.
Okay, I'll text you.
Anyways, with that, Austin's about to go do his other show with Sam Tripoli. There you go. That's a spoiler. I think we're probably going to do an in-studio episode with Sam Tripoli while we're there in LA, and then we're going to drive over to Vegas the next day and go do an episode. We're doing 2 episodes with Jake Shields. It's April 19th, the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, so we're going to go do that. You can leave, Austin, if you need to. We're going to do that. It's supposed to, I believe it's supposed to drop the day of, so that way it's there for the anniversary, and then we're also going to do an episode kind of on child trafficking networks like the Finders, Dutroux Fair, like that sort of stuff, kind of tying it all in together. And there's kind of an overarching theme between the two. But either way, it's going to be a fun time. Thank you guys for, kind of being there for us to kind of support us to get here. What's up, Jules? What's up?
I was going to say just one more thing, guys. Go to Paranoid American. go to paranoidamerican.com/discount/Greypilled for 10% off of some
all right,
Thomas's
guys.
merch.
That's enough. We're enough. We're done insulting your ears.
Greypilled, everybody.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. We're out of here. Love you all. Bye. Thanks, Dana. We're out of here. Bye.